brought and its likelihood of success versus dismissal in light of changes that happened that were well-intended and important to do, but now need some refinement in our discovery laws. And so this conversation will help shape some of that conversation as we head into our budget negotiations. But I think many of you know this is a personal issue for me. My mother had to endure seeing, what happened to her own mother before her father walked out. But it was a very angry, violent childhood, and more emotional abuse than physical, but it took its toll on my mother as a little girl who watched her own mother suffer at the hands of a man who was supposed to love her, breaking down the compact that you have between a married couple of trust and love, and it was just non-existent for my mother's childhood. So that really steeled her with the knowledge, I have to do something about this. Other children may end up seeking out people who are equally abusive. There's a history of this. When children see a way of behavior, they think that that is the norm. My mother broke out of that with her strength and courage and became a champion for victims of domestic violence, helping found the very first office and coalition for victims of domestic violence back in Buffalo, helping found Haven House, along with a lot of others, who created the first shelter for victims of domestic violence, and then founded her own with my family years later. So this is a personal journey to me, but also my mother spent a lot of time in court with victims. And I saw through her eyes what it takes for someone to have the courage to stand up and to accuse someone who perhaps committed to love them in marriage or in a relationship, have to say to them, I'm going to stand up against you and make sure that there are consequences. That takes an extraordinary amount of courage. And when they get to that point and are willing to put themselves out there in such a profound way, danger to themselves, and then to see a result that they just walk out of the courtroom in disbelief and say, how could this have happened? We need to deal with that. And I know you have so many thoughts on this, and I do want to thank all of you for joining here. Beat can start us off, and then as we go around here, your comments will allow you to introduce yourselves too. But we also have Mary Pat Donnelly is our incoming president-elect of the New York State District Attorneys Association. Mike McMahon is the current right now, but incoming. That's really important to hear her voice as well. So B. Hansen, our director, thank you for hosting us here today and leading this conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Governor Hochul. You have just such a deep commitment to domestic violence and reducing crime across the great state of New York, so thank you for your leadership. I know you recognize that crime has a lasting impact on victims and their families, and that's really why we are here today. We're here as survivors of violence, prosecutors and service providers who see that lasting impact of domestic violence each and every day. And we know that the effects of violence are intergenerational, and they can really lead to years of trauma that impacts people's health, their jobs, their relationships, and their children. As the governor, you've invested in model interventions that are giving communities new tools to help them improve public safety, and this is very revolutionary, I think, in terms of having these additional tools and respond more effectively to domestic violence. You've also provided record levels of funding to support victims of crime, and OVS has been a critical part of that support system, and I know that the more than 200 victim service providers that we fund from law enforcement, prosecutors' offices, and community-based organizations across the state really appreciate the funding that we've been able to provide. These programs provide services that meet the specific needs of victims, where they live, and OVS also provides compensation to victims to help them get the support and services that they need to heal without having to pay for it themselves. And thanks to the governor's office and her visionary leadership, we've been able to allocate the largest amount of funding ever for our OVS funding. So our new three-year grant cycle that starts October 1st will have the largest amount of funding we've ever had before. So we're very excited about that. And today's roundtable, it's really an extension of that commitment to public safety, and I'm really glad that all of you are here today. Our goal is really to ensure that the criminal justice system is fair to all parties, and it does so in a way that preserves the safety to survivors of domestic violence. So very excited to be here with all of you. I wanted to pass it over to District Attorney Donnelly for a few words as well. Thank you.
I'll just reiterate, thank you, Governor, for investing in domestic violence as a component of public safety. As a prosecutor, we recognize the unique challenges, obviously, that go into a domestic violence prosecution. But it's not just getting a victim to feel comfortable cooperating with a prosecutor. We need to make sure that we have the big picture in a lot of these victims that we see, unfortunately, with different abusers as time goes forward. And again, the intergenerational is something that we can definitely see in Rensselaer County. So the ability to have a multidisciplinary approach, the ability to have someone to support the prosecutor to say, we understand your financial burdens, we understand your child care burdens, we understand everything that goes into walking away from a dangerous, potentially deadly relationship. So the funding that you're providing to our offices is going to make such a difference in allowing us to focus on doing our jobs, evidence-based prosecution, and making sure we have success so that these victims know New York cares about them and is going to shuttle them through this terrible time in their life. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll turn it back over to B.
Thanks. Okay. I'll just wait a couple minutes till press leaves and then we'll get started.
I think we can get started.
Yeah, I think it started. Okay. So I know we've got a short window here, a short window of time. We've all talked. I've talked to each of you. I think we'll try to make conversation brief but focused on